A disclaimer before we begin, I am definitely well aware of the Jonathan Majors controversy going on, and I know there is a court case going against him. I'm honestly hoping he's innocent. We all know what it is to have a celebrity we like be exposed on doing something bad. It's not a good feeling, but whatever it is, I don't know anything of it, so I'm not going to say nothing. Now let me set the stage for you. The date is March 5th, 2023. I am under 36 hours away from beginning uni for the first time. And I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty nervous during this time. First time nerves definitely got the better of me, but also my attitude to hard work that entire holiday had been non-existent. Like you'd actually be disgusted in my whole mindset. But regardless of all the mental discombobulation that was gonna go down that year, especially due to the fact that my first year of uni wasn't gonna end well, let's just say the less you know about it, the better off you will be. But yes, uni was about to begin, and I had one last trip that I was allowed to go on, and thanks to my parents, I had managed to spend my last day out of that summer watching this beast. Every moment of this movie was worth the wait, and it always managed to have me on the edge of my seat. It's been 2 years and it's still standing on business, hands down the greatest final fight that I had ever witnessed in a boxing movie, period. Now, the people who know me know I never mess with anime. I've never enjoyed it. I'll be honest with you, I have zero interest in it. But allegedly, this final fight was inspired from an anime of some sort. Honestly, if there was ever a chance you'd convince me to get into anime, it would be using this fight. And this movie had a thing shared by many other movies during the time of its release. It was the whole idea of not being able to escape from your past. And this one did it the best. Whereas Fast and Furious 9 tried to tackle it but failed in some way, this one quite literally embodied the idea of running away from your problems and then eventually having the courage to face them after all those problems build up just enough, giving you no choice but to accept that the only way out of it is through. And you best believe that summer that I watched it, every moment leading up to then, I was running away from all responsibility. I just finished high school, and as entitled as I was, all I demanded was vacation. I didn't even put the work in for any of it. But after watching this movie, I definitely wanted to make a change, even though by then it was already too late. Like I said, uni was less than 36 hours away. So in many instances, the guilt was there. And the movie did what it set out to do, and it worked. Not just keeping me on the edge of my seat, not just keeping me excited for what happens next, nervous even, I was shaking at most points, but it also managed to pull at my own heartstrings. There is emotion in this movie. It gives us probably one of the darkest and saddest deaths in the Rocky universe. Apollo's death had always been a loud shock, followed up by all the emotion. But Marianne, her death, you never expected any of it. If you're a Creed and Rocky fan, you are so obsessed and excited about what's going to happen in the plot itself that when you gloss over that moment in the movie where it's teased, when you come to her death, it's more unpredictable and unexpected than Apollo's. Because Apollo, you saw in the fight, Apollo's fate, it could have been avoided if he didn't take up the fight. But with Marianne's death, this was a natural cause. This was a ticking time bomb, something you never saw coming. A lot like death in real life. You don't anticipate it until it's too late. And before you know it, you're in that scene, crying with Adonis. And I remembered crying in the theater. I'd spent the last 5 or so years of my life being obsessed with Rocky, Creed, and now I've known these characters for a long time. So when her death hit, especially everything she said, I kid you not, it managed to work in just the right way. That you swore in your heart it felt like losing your own mother. It was from here that you knew, Donnie knew, this was the push that he needed to go face his problems head on. And it eventually led to hands down one of the greatest training montages in any Rocky Creed movie ever. I had the soundtrack on blast every single day whilst trying to study for uni. But don't ask how I ended up getting kicked out of my uni due to academic means. Even I can't answer that question myself. But it had something that Rocky 3 didn't. You actually felt empathy for the Clubber Lang type character. So when it came down to the final fight, you never knew who to root for. And it honestly wasn't afraid to make its hero face the guilt of his own actions. We clearly know what Donnie did wrong, but regardless of said circumstances, we still root for him. And like every other Rocky and Creed movie, everyone involved had done their best. So you best believe I left that cinema a grateful fan of the franchise. But being grateful was never one of my strengths. So here are my nitpicks. Regardless of how amazing the movie was, regardless to how emotional the sad moments were, regardless of the cast themselves being likable people, I've got one thing to say to Diamond Dame Anderson. What the hell is this bum-ass boxing kit that he has at the end of the movie? Diamond Dame Anderson! What happened to the all-black kit with the big-ass diamonds? Look, I'm gonna be honest, this thing kind of grew on me. Like, as the years went on, when I first noticed it, I was disgusted. It was repulsive. Like, it was so bad. It was so bad. Look, I'm not that against it right now, but it would make sense to place something like this that isn't that shiny or expensive looking in the first fight of the movie, where Damien is the no-name underdog going up against the heavyweight champion. You could probably add some weight behind it, like, oh, I made this kit for myself because I like the look of it. And then everyone else looks at him and says, yeah, whatever, kid. Yeah, whatever. You're probably going to lose anyway. And then he goes out there and showcases his skill, not cheating, no low blows. Listen, here's what you can do with Diamond Dame, yeah? He's like, it's so hard to get into a championship fight now. You have to do so much and you have to rely on so many connections. Like, even if you have talent, it's never enough for these people. So yes, the idea of Victor Drago being jumped and injured, as impossible as it seems, because you've seen how big Florian is. Come on, man. Like, who the hell's going to break the hand of this guy?
Hell, get off that nigga dick, bro. What is you doing?
But the idea of it, it's well invited, because Dame is willing to do whatever it takes to get to the top. But why is he throwing low blows at Felix? It doesn't make sense. Like, look at Felix, look at Dame. No offense to Jose Benavidez Jr., yeah? But, like, you know who's winning this fight, regardless of who's the older man. Like, come on, man. When he said in the trailer, I was the best, but I never got the chance to prove it, this could have been the fight where you could have shown him fighting correctly and legally without cheating and making him a threatening force. You can prolong the fight to showcase that Felix can cook in these fights. But at the same time, though, look at Damien. Look at Felix. Eventually, Damien, his power will overpower him. And you could have had it been that he knocked him out in the 6th round at least. From the looks of the trailers, it seems as if he was going to have a fair fight and actually butcher Felix and beat him to a point where it left Donnie damn near traumatized. But then the actual movie comes out and I'm like, what the heck's all this? Why is he kneeing him? Why is he elbowing him? You don't need to do this. Look at the size of you, man. Creed 3 was amazing, bruv. But the lack of drip in the final fight for Jonathan Majors and the dirty techniques that he threw in that fight were more tragic than Jonathan Majors' love life in Magazine Dreams. Imagine if he went with the all-black boxing kit with the diamonds. It is a good connection to his character, his goals and aspirations, and it calls back to the very first line in the movie, well, one of the very first lines in the movie, in the best way.
Man, the first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give me one of them big-ass diamonds. I'm gonna get you one too, little homie.
Along with that final fight, where it's just him and Donnie, which is hands down one of the best shots in any fighting movie whatsoever. I mean, I creamed my pants watching that fight on that day, bro. Like, I kid you not, I was geeking out the whole time seeing these two big black men beating the living shit out of each other.
He's racist.
But imagine this, Donnie and the ring, they're both wearing white. I mean, the ring doesn't really wear anything.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But it's white as well. And then Dame, he's the one black spot of evil, birthed in this jail cell for 18 years, along with the whole crowd going dark as well, showing how much of a threat Donnie is up against. So when Donnie does triumph over him, it's more powerful. The all-black kit represents the idea of a man who is willing to go to the very depths to get what he wants. The literal embodiment of evil. But when you have the red, the orange, and the green, don't get me wrong, it's grown on me. But this shit, it just kills the whole color scheme of the fight. It really does. It ruined it. And to think, my 18-year-old self watching this movie, I was so hyped. I didn't even notice how shit his drip was. His drip was so bad.
All right, nigga.
See, Dame cheating represents the idea of the self-made millionaire. The man who has to make things for himself in order to get the opportunities that he wants. It's basically a sibling with older siblings compared to a sibling with no older siblings. They have to build this shit brick by brick, bro. And it's the perfect contrast to Donnie, who had his own dad be a heavyweight champion. And now you know the contrast between Rocky's story and Dame's story. Dame, resulted for low blows and cheap shots to get to the championship title event. Without low blows and cheap shots in the fight, just conning his way to the top. Whereas Rocky, we see him as an American icon. He's the Boy Scout leading into the fight. He doesn't do anything. He's just controlled by everyone else around him, which makes you feel bad for him. Dame, he doesn't have that opportunity. So he has to claw and scratch for every opportunity he has in a pretty foul way. But at the same time, though, you can still build empathy for the guy. Like, oh my God, you just butchered this character for me. You butchered him. And another thing at the end of the movie, people were saying it would be better that Donnie throws the fight. And, ultimately, a different story in the sense of the opponent willingly gives the chance to to his opponent, so he's like, you know what, he's been wanting this his whole life, I may as well give it to him. Like, he's come to a point where he's a father now, he's a husband, he don't really care about all that shit. He's just trying to make new talent. He's trying to just advance his career, and Donnie's getting old, blah, blah, blah. You know what? You could honestly, not that Donnie throws away the fight willingly, you could also show that Dame has power over Donnie, regardless of him being the older out the both. There's only one person, to quote Stephen A. Smith, that has been struggling in these streets, that has been out here in these streets. And yet, you could have had it been that Dame won the last fight. Purely because, listen, it's a good twist on the whole story. It's a good twist. Nothing wrong with Donnie winning. I love Donnie winning. But at the same time, though, it's a good way to change things up. But you know what? Yeah. Look. I've rambled on too much. My bad. Michael B. Jordan, you cooked with this movie. You made my end of holiday beautiful. And I appreciate you for that, brother. Keep up the good work. Look, at the end of the day, this was the best conclusion to my holiday leading into uni. I was already going to step into an engineering field of study, and I was shitting it. My parents let me go out, and I'm grateful for them for that. But I'll be real with you. This final fight, along with a couple other things with Diamond Dame's character, killed the movie for me when I looked into it years later. When I wasn't glazing Jonathan Majors, I actually looked at it. After all the hype and the excitement I felt in the movie, I looked into it, I had my heart broken. That just, I get it's picky, but that's just who I am. I'm a spoiled, entitled brat. Come on, man. You could have given me all black against all white, man. Like, what the hell?
That's what she said.
What the actual hell, bro? Like, I digress, man. I'm gonna dip before I crash out again, bro.
Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Shut up!